Let's go. So let's start with Pam, and then we'll go to Lily and then Becky.
Okay. Hi. So Pam Perry is my name. I'm a publicist, career publicist for about 20 years. I've been podcasting actually since about 2007. And it started because I wanted to get more airtime for my clients, primarily authors and speakers. So I started on Blog Talk Radio with a little show called Chocolate Pages. And it was a show for authors, for chocolate authors, actually, because I work with a lot of African-American authors. And over the years, podcasting has changed, Blog Talk Radio changed, and I went on and did Libsyn. And then from there, I'm actually using Blueberry for my podcast. And the podcast is called Get Out There and Get Known. So it's a video podcast now, where before it was just really by the phone. And so that's what I've been doing. And so PamPerryPR.com is my company name, and I've been in business for about 20 years.
May I reach out to you once this is over, Pam?
Yes, definitely, for sure.
Awesome, fantastic. So I
posted your press release, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So we are just getting started, and I feel like all of the women that are coming here today, you were meant to be here. Doesn't matter from which part of the world. Lily, tell us where you're from.
Hi, everyone. I'm from Taiwan, and now I'm in Taiwan. And because of podcasting, I traveled to 40 and lived and worked there, 40 different countries. And so at first, when I started, I was a corporate trainer, but I didn't like my lifestyle very much. I just wanted to broadcast my class online. And I was really fortunate, discovered by the producers on the podcast network, and then they gave me some suggestion. I started making a different podcast for them and attract a lot of listenership. And so started monetizing 3 months in, and then as my podcast getting more and more successful, my marriage was actually crumbling. And I discovered my husband cheated on me, and then it all blew up from there. And I lost my voice for 3 months, and a lot of people reached out, wanted to hear from me again. And I started to focusing on travel, which is my biggest passion, rather than attending men, I guess.
There you go.
And then, and started there, and I started to broadcast my healing journey and talk about how I discover my other self, the more authentic one, through traveling. And then, it brought me to many different places and discover more beautiful people and places. And here I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. So she's super modest, this woman. She's like beyond exceptional. Lily Wong has had over 40 million downloads of her podcast. She is a rock star. So I'm humbled to work with her, and she's yes, exactly. Wow. Yes, she's doing it in Chinese. She's bilingual, Chinese and English. And so we're grateful to have whatever nuggets you have to share with us, Lily. I'm going to pass it on to Becky and then Gail. And then we're going to have, remember, 6:45, we're going to open it up. Whatever we don't finish here, we're going to take it into the State of Women podcast launch, and we're going to start all over if we have to, but this is our session, so let's roll. Becky?
Alrighty. So I have sort of a more traditional career path within the podcasting industry. So I've worked on the ad agency side buying podcasts. I used to be a producer, so I was working with ad partners on that side. And now I work at Acast, which is a hosting provider and a sales partner. So I'm basically the liaison between our podcasters and our sales team. And so finding creative ways to make them money at the outset, and also, finding not just host-read ads to give them money, but also, audio ads, things like that, things that are, pre-recorded. And I also recently just worked on a podcast monetization resource guide as part of the Podcast Academy, which is an industry group within podcasting. So I have a lot of familiarity from all sides of the industry and all sides of podcasting with monetization and approaches. And feel sort of lucky to be at Acast at this time, because we are working on a lot of tools where podcasters can get money directly from their listeners versus having to be solely reliant on on ad revenue, which we all know is a fleeting thing sometimes. So diversification of revenue is something I think about a lot in podcasting.
And Acast is who we used for women investing in women and girls a long time ago. When you guys were just getting started, we were getting started. So we're still technically on Voice America Kids still, like on their platform, but Acast is like way in the beginning. You guys saw it before everybody else, and look forward to circling back with you as well.
Absolutely.
Dale Carter, please share your nuggets.
Hi, everyone. How are you? So as I was sharing earlier, I started this years ago with something called Parents Kids Music, and it was meant to bring kids and parents together as an intergenerational dialogue so that they could focus on music together. They'd be able to work together through anything, teaching youth to, I still believe this, earn what they are creating and to create their lives the way they want it without society being on them of what they need to do or how they need to save the world, and how their parents could relate to them and they could both learn from each other. It morphed into, when my mother passed away, as a way of giving voice to people because much like Miss Wong said, I was going through some things with my marriage. I was going through the loss of my mother. And on the day that my mother died, although I had been doing the podcast before that, I got my voice in a different way. I did it literally on the day she died. I had a show and I still went and did the show. And, you know, I'm a workaholic, but on that day, it was very special for me to do. And so it's morphed in from that to focusing on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, solutions for those goals, and giving people a voice there. And we actually, much like Ms. Wong and other people, we allow people to have a voice on the platform where it's not just about us interviewing people, but we actually give them, I guess you could say it's almost becoming a network. We give youth the opportunity to have the platform and give their voice and begin to engage in a way that they want to. And so that's what it's morphed into, as well as solutions for social and global issues that we face, because we don't wake up saying, oh, I need to deal with climate. We wake up to see how our day is going to go with our health, or our well-being, or money, or whatever it is, no matter how rich or poor. So that's what we want to do, is relate to every person, things that affect all of us the same way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we did everything that we said we were going to do. And I would like you to share maybe a few thoughts on, as you were getting started with your monetization journey, Lily, can you tell us what challenges that you might have come across and how you got around them for those people that are just getting started with their podcasting journey? What suggestions would you give?
Calling me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think I always tell people that monetizing shouldn't be your goal. You know, your goal is to be consistent and putting yourself out there. And then I don't think now the age is, now this time, it's not who you know, it's who wants to come to know you, you know. So for me, my challenges in 2020, the past year, was like, because I've been promoting travel a lot. Then all of a sudden, travel industry didn't work. I lost maybe 2/3 of my income, and that was really challenging for me. But I was just like, keep going back to my why. I started to do that, and then I do some kind of like, I don't know if it makes sense, cloud travel. Still talk about travel, but we are traveling on the cloud. This is like traveling in the cloud. I'm still talking about that, talking about the transformation that it brought me, and then talking about life is journey. So I just like keep reminding people to just keep showing up, you know, because it's like having a shop. You gotta open your shop daily. That's how people find your shop and give you money. Yeah. So that's the challenge that I was facing. It's just like I needed to focus in my purpose, not just how I get money. And money will come eventually if you are doing the right thing. If you are just like progressing, being the best person you are, you know.
Super wise, super great. Becky Celestina, the podcasting industry has exploded in the past year. April 2020, 100,000 new podcasts were started, 70% of them by women. How many would you say, like, is this consistent with your platform? And do you feel like a lot more women are stepping up now and trying to figure out the whole monetization piece? And like you're coming up with special tools, but have you seen a surge?
I mean, we've definitely seen, especially since the pandemic started, a huge growth in podcasting, right? People have more free time. They're not commuting. In terms of gender, I'm not actually sure on that question for ACAST specifically, but I do think that, to Lily's point, you should be thinking about monetization and, thinking about ways to not just rely on ad revenue and monetization. So you don't have to be a big podcast to be making money from your podcast. And, part of what ACAST does and part of what a lot of monetization partners are trying to do is finding ways for smaller podcasts to bring money onto their podcasts. And really the easiest way to do that is by soliciting your listeners, asking the people who love your podcast to help contribute, feel part of a community of a podcast. And I think women especially have this hesitancy with asking for what they need or what they want. And I say this because this is how I approach things all the time. It's hard to ask for what we want and need, but I think podcast listeners want to support their favorite shows. So if you have a dedicated base of listeners, even if it's a small base, it could be even things like merch or events when things go back to normal. There's so many ways you can make money from your show that don't have to rely on being this giant podcast. And I think that's important to remember too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Pam, can you shed some light on in terms of building out like branding and these new podcasters, like what tips you would have for them to build out their monetization?
Yeah, one of the main things too, and this is really good, what you all said, the podcasters that I work with are primarily authors and speakers. So they are using this as a marketing tool, not necessarily like because I'm a podcaster and I want to do a passion project. This is a way obviously for a speaker, for them to be heard. And so a lot of times I said, this is a way where you can, one, use a podcast and use the show notes to create a book, because the speakers are always saying, I don't have time to write a book. I said, well, you podcast and you can do a book. I said, another way is for them to not, they think like, oh, well, how can I make money from my podcast? Mm-hmm. I said, well, whatever you're speaking on, you're going to have they have a consulting business or clients from that kind of thing. It says, make sure that you are positioned as an expert. So you're positioning you as an expert. And I know my podcast personally, that when I podcast, I get clients. I remember one time I was on LinkedIn and I did my LinkedIn Live. It's a podcast. And as soon as the podcast was over, I got an email from a young lady that says, oh my goodness, I need to speak with you. And she actually turned into what I call a multi-figure client from listening. She had never heard of me before. It wasn't like she was stalking me, but this was someone that was brand new, because what I was talking about resonated with her. So I always tell people, I said, just be your authentic self. You're sharing expertise for free. If people love what you're doing, you're talking to your direct audience, they will come. And so I just say, when you're branding yourself on your podcast, to make sure that you are doing it for, the reason why you're doing it, and you can take it and, ads are one way, sponsors are another. I said, but really it's about your personal brand. So who are you talking to, and talk to them in their ear, and they become your clients.
Brilliant. So we have 3 more minutes left, Ms. Carter.
Oh my
Could you please tell us your golden nuggets on how you blew up and how you ended up taking your podcast from that first day when your mother died into where it is today, and all the amazing people that you've been able to interview in the way?
The funny thing is, I've always been a people person. So I knew a lot of people way before my mom passed. And this is what I would offer to people, same way as Ms. Perry just talked about. When you leave your dream in the hands of someone you trust, they hold it for you. And you should always have 3 people around you that will tell you like it is, no matter what, and be very straight with you, and not necessarily in the business that you're in. Okay. Because you only become as you only expand yourself as a human being with those that you have around you. And as Miss Perry said, to always be your authentic self, no matter what. Be the same person you are online as you are offline. To go back to what Miss Wong said, don't focus on the money, because whatever you're attached will get reflected right back out of lack, coming from a place of lack. I need. Lastly, you can get friends or family or people in your local business, in your local area. Anyone can afford $50 because they want that notoriety out there. You can ask them for $50 or $100. You can start with something like Anchor, which is free, and it goes on to Spotify and everything else. But test the waters a little bit locally and start out without saying, hey, I will announce $50 on $50 or $100, that you sponsored this little area. And once you start out with that, you've already started your podcast. But before you even do those things, write down on a piece of paper, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? What is my message I would like to convey? And the last part of that is, what is going to be my first podcast and who's my audience? And am I going to have a guest or not? Or am I just going to be speaking about what it is I'm up to? And when will I put a guest on? So those are some of the things you want to contemplate as you begin your podcast journey.
Brilliant. So this is serious wisdom from everyone in this who are joining us here today. Pay attention. We're going to record this. We've recorded it. We're going to share it. And ultimately, these are golden nuggets, not just starting a podcast ultimately, but then it's also pushing it out, staying committed. And there's tools out there. There's companies out there that can help you monetize. Like Gail said, reach out to your communities and understand why you're getting yourself out there and be consistent. That's the most important thing for everyone that's watching today. We are going to jump into the State of Women Podcast Network, which is launching now. We've been putting this together during pandemic. This has been our big baby that we are so happy to announce, and just having all of you amazing women from around the world be with us. It's fantastic, and look forward to seeing you in the next session. So see you there. Thank you.
Anu?
Yes, love?
Yeah, before you leave and with everyone on, I just want to put this idea out for the State of Women with Anu. Anu's been doing a great job. I think it would be great if you just had a podcast with 5 women on at a time and have it under the State of the Women, or 10 women on at the same time as a regular thing, because I think what you're doing here would really bring women together.
Absolutely. So this is what we're doing. We're launching a membership, and we're going to talk about that in the next session. And
Right.
ultimately, once we finish this summit, this was us bringing everyone together. We've been in the process of making our own apps. So now that the apps are done and we've got the whole platform built and we've executed this global event, the next phase is to start. We've launched 5 podcasts for other people, and Springboard is one of them. It's in the pipeline. Grief, Grace, and Gratitude, one of our earlier sessions, we launched hers. Block Changing the World, it was another one. So we will be doing a State of Women podcast for sure. It's just a question of who we're going to do it with. So there's some good people on here that could partner with, and we'll have those discussions when it's over. So thank you for that suggestion. Appreciate it. Shall we all see each other in the next session? Thank you. Bye.